Hello and welcome to this short video on the anatomy of an academic article. I'm Audrey Shoemaker, one of the librarian research coaches at Walter State, and today we're going to walk through the basic structure of an academic or scholarly article. Knowing this structure will help you recognize when you see one and will also help you use one in your paper. Why? Because understanding the basic format of an academic paper helps you figure out which parts are important for you to analyze to decide when, how, and where to use the paper. It helps you understand where the paper exists in the conversation between experts on that topic, and it helps you quickly decide whether the paper is relevant to your research. So let's start on the first page. A typical research paper will include some key information. It will tell you the publication information. This should include a date of publication, the name of the journal in which the article was published, all of this appears up here, and the volume and issue numbers for that publication. Sometimes, but not always, journal titles include the words journal, papers, and annals. However, if you don't see something like that, it doesn't mean you aren't looking at a scholarly paper. The journal title will probably tell you a little something about the audience and/or the purpose of the journal. This one, right here, is titled Research and Practice for Persons with Severe Disabilities. That's the title of the publication. I can see it was published in 2002, and if I wanted to look at the entire publication, I would look for volume 27, issue number 3, and I would look for this specific article in the pages 165 to 174. A helpful bit of knowledge: the volume number on an academic journal usually applies to the whole year, and the issue to the specific publication, whether it's quarterly, monthly, semesterly. I can reasonably assume that this journal was published in its 27th year of publication because it's volume 27, and if I find out how often it's published, I can usually figure out the month as well. The next part is the title, of course, and this is usually followed by author names and an abstract. Sometimes the author names will have credentials after them, like LPN, PhD, MD, not always. They also frequently include where the author is employed, usually at a university or college. Those don't always show up, but you should be able to find the author's names easily. The next bit, right here, and pay attention because understanding this part of the paper will help you with your research, is called the abstract. An abstract is a short description of the paper. It generally includes some or all of the following: the purpose of the paper, the author's main argument, so like a thesis statement, a note on methodology, so a description of how the author came to their conclusions, and a suggestion for further research. All of these things are so helpful to you because they help you decide whether the paper is relevant to your research without you having to read the whole thing. Rely on the abstract for information about the paper, but never, I mean never, quote the abstract. It's only a very short and very general introduction to the paper, and sometimes it's not even written by the paper's author. It's a great tool, but it is not a source on its own. The next stop on our tour through the journal article is actually the meat of the paper, where the authors lay out their arguments, give you their study findings, and discuss future research options. Depending on the type of paper you found, whether it's in humanities, social sciences, natural sciences, this could look a bit different. Humanities papers frequently tell a story, or they cite lots of examples with in-depth analysis. The paper might be one large block of text that lays all the arguments out before the author wraps it up and describes why this research is both new and different. A social sciences paper like this one is more likely to give you other chunks. So you'll get a method. The method is a description of how the study was performed, who was involved in it, who did the study, how they laid out the steps to it, and the result. And we'll scroll down a little bit here to find it. The result, which is an analysis of the data that they gathered through the study. They'll follow with a discussion, all the way down here, of the results, and a discussion of the limitations of the research, which will show up down here, followed by suggestions for future studies. Throughout academic papers, you'll find in-text citations, these guys right here in parentheses. They tell you where the authors got the information they're using to persuade you of their argument. The citations pop up throughout the entire paper and vary frequently. They all point to the references. This is an alphabetical list of all the sources used in the paper, and these are super helpful. This is a list of author names, keywords, journals, and article titles to continue searching for more sources for your paper. Thanks for watching, and if you have more questions, contact a librarian. We're usually in your eLearn class list under Research Coach.